Thank you for joining us. We're here in the HSG Solution Center in Geneva, Illinois. I'm the product director. My name is Xiao for HSG North America. Today with me here is Jacob, our solution sales director. I'll let him introduce himself.
Thanks, Xiao. Thanks everyone for joining us and bearing with us here in the beginning. I'm Jacob Miller. I lead solution sales here at HSG. And over the next several minutes, we'll discuss our tube laser product line, and I'll turn it back over to Xiao to go through the machine. Let's get into it. So before we look at the machine, let's frame why this matters. When a shop moves tube work onto a laser, three things happen at the same time. First, cycle times drop. The laser runs a program nest at high speed instead of a person feeding a saw. Second, you collapse secondary operations, holes, slots, copes, weld bevels, even tapping on some machines, all in one handling. So you're not moving parts to a drill press and a deburr station afterward. And third, you open up capability you didn't have, complex profiles and weld-ready edges that a saw and drill simply can't produce. Keep those three in mind because every machine I'm about to show you is just a different point on that same curve. So here's the entire tube laser product line on one screen, and it's a simple matrix. Across the top, the size of the tube you cut, light, medium, and heavy, and down the side is the number of chucks each machine has, 2, 3, and 4. So we'll start with the 2 chuck machines. The R1 handles light, small diameter tube at very high speed. And for medium tube, where most of the market lives, you've got the TS2. The machine we're talking about today is a high-speed dual chuck machine, and right beside it is the brand new R2 Pro that we just launched. 3 chucks, we have the T2, which covers medium tube with full-length support, which is what you want for longer parts, and the TX3 and TX5 take you into heavier tube, up to about 14 and 20-inch diameters. And at 4 chucks, the TL series, TL3, TL5, and TL7 handles the biggest, heaviest tube up to nearly 29 inches with zero tailing cutting. The rule of thumb is simple. The bigger and heavier the tube, the more chucks you want supporting it. For the bulk of the market, the starting point is the TS2, so that's where we're spending our time today. So we're going to zoom in on the TS2. This is our high-performance medium tube laser, and it's the exact machine you're about to see run live in just a minute. A few numbers to set expectations. It moves at up to about 5,500 inches per minute, pulls 1.4 Gs on acceleration, handles tubes up to 661 pounds, and with optional automation, it bundle loads in 25 seconds. Don't worry about memorizing those stats. Just watch for the speed and how little the operator has to babysit it. Now I'm going to turn it over to Xiao. He'll start with a walk around to the machine and then take you to the floor for a live cut. Watch the chuck handling and the edge quality, and I'll come back at the end to tie it all together. All right, Xiao, over to you.
Thank you, Jacob. Well, I got a TS2 machine behind me. Like we mentioned earlier, this is our Geneva Solution Center. One thing we do is to do test run of some of the machine model, and also depending on the customer order. So let's go over this particular one. It might not have all the bells and whistles, but let's see what we got. TS2, as Jacob mentioned earlier, it's basically a high-speed machine. We have 1.4 G acceleration and also about 5,500 inches per minute maximum rapid speed, as well as 140 RPM of the chuck rotation speed. So it's a pretty capable machine. But on top of that, safety is a very important part of our product line, our main concern. For example, here, the first thing I'm going to introduce is here, we got the light curtain, actually on both the loading side as well as unloading side. And the loading side actually including not just the front end, but also back side. We'll talk about that later. Now that white box over there, is a tail chuck. What it is basically, holding the tail end of the tube. That's actually a very critical part of the entire tube laser machine. For HSG, we develop our own chuck system. This particular one we call intelligent chuck. What does it mean? A few things, actually three things. Number one, the travel range is wide enough. Therefore, from 1/2 inch all the way up to 7 3/4 inch of the diameter, you do not need to change any draws so it has continuous range of motion. And also the second thing is that the clamping force is digitally adjustable on the control HMI. So we can change that in real time when necessary. For example, your clamping force for a 1/4 inch thick wall, 6 inch, round tube versus 20 gauge, 40,000 watt thickness stainless steel tube, 1 inch diameter. Those obviously require different clamping force. So for this one, it can adjust that easily. The third thing is the clamping location, where the clot location, the machine has real-time feedback. So for example, if we program a 4-inch round tube, but the clamp shows that our clamping location is 6-inch diameter, okay, something must be wrong, and the machine knows and will give you alarm. So those are about the chuck. We're not going to take too much closer look to that. It's just a white box. For example, here we got the step loader for this particular unit. The step loader, and the nice thing about it is you can mix and match different tube as long as they match the sequence of the program you have in the production queue. For example, here we have 3 rectangular tube. And we got a round tube, and we got a angle iron right here. We can obviously do C-channel, I-beam as well. This is the front end, and the back end wide open if you prefer to use forklift or overhead crane to load some tube into it, just to kind of insert a job for some quick turnaround. You can do that as well. It's also light curtain protected on the backside. So speaking of light curtain, this is the other end of the light curtain. Actually close up this area. When anybody entering this area, the loader will stop the motion. Therefore, you don't want your finger cut off. But the good thing is the machine will continue run. Okay, so by doing loading here, you're not going to stop the machine from working. And actually, let me walk into here a little bit. And this white box, later on, you're going to see this door rising up. For loading process, we need that clearance for the tube to go in, and then the chuck able to clamp it. But during the cutting process, here's the door will rise up, preventing people from getting hurt while the machine is in motion, and also as part of the laser safety enclosure as well. So come with me on this side. Now we're looking at the machine control station. From here, the first thing you're going to notice is actually we got 2 monitors. The top one is basically a camera, a VCR, if you want to call that, 4 camera location. 2 of them actually looking into the cutting area, and one looking at the loading side, another one looking at the unloading side. Therefore, even though the operator is standing right here, he or she will have pretty good understanding of what's going on around the machine. If somebody is within the safety enclosure, safety light curtain area. Speaking of that blue push button over there is a reset button for the light curtain. So yeah, we set it here so you cannot reset that when you're actually inside the machine. For the control, it is a HSG proprietary X9200 control, which have a lot of pretty good functionality, including, for example, the seam line detection. The machine actually equipped with a camera. There's cover I can open, actually take a photo of the tube, identify which side of the weld line is, and therefore you do not need to tell the machine, you do not need to lay the machine on the step loader in any specific direction. The machine will identify the rotation of where the seam line is and automatically adjust where the geometry to be cut on that part. And also, for example, this particular model we equipped with a bevel cutting head. So you can do bevel cutting pretty easily. Let me see. And from here, now we're getting to the unloading side. Again, light curtain, same. Here, And we actually have two layers of light curtain. Here is just stop the conveyor from moving. Therefore, you can come into this area, pick up your parts, and the conveyor will not move. The machine was still running. And over here, we have the smaller light curtain that preventing people from entering into the more critical area. And if you break that light curtain, the machine actually will stop running. Here we got the 3 conveyors for the unloading. This thing is actually modularized. If you buy the 4.5 meter unloading version, you only gotta have 2, but we have extension to make it longer. Over here, those are actually on wheel, and they are actually on the linear way on the backside, so you can slide depending on your tube length to better adjust for that. You got those tray here. They're designed to catch small parts, but obviously if your part is this long, they might not be so useful. In this case, most people do this. Unplug the pin and get this one out of the way as well. And then you can have your skid coming over or bucket, and then the long tube after the conveyor drops directly into the part bin and ready to be forklift out of the way. That's pretty much the 30,000 feet overview of this machine. Without further ado, let's actually to watch the machine cut some parts. Thank you. So while the first tube get loaded into the machine, the step loader is getting the second tube ready. What you saw earlier was the machine doing center calibration, because sometimes the tube coming out of the mill might not be perfectly straight, and therefore our machine have the capability to detect the position of all 4 sides of the tube and automatically compensate for that, applied offset. There are 2 ways of doing that, actually multiple ways. One is 4 sides edge detection. In that case, using the z-axis to detect the skew rotation of the tube. Another way is doing a 1 side based on edge detection. Now we're doing bevel cutting, basically a countersink pull. All right, thank you guys for watching. That was a very quick run through of the little bit demonstration of the machine, which includes a few features. For example, cutting a smaller part, some bevel cutting, a little bit longer part showing the loading, cutting, and unloading side of the machine. Like I mentioned earlier, this machine does not have the drilling and tapping option on it. Maybe we'll try it next time and show you guys that function, which is actually pretty cool. So right now what we're doing here is basically a quick Q&A. If you guys have any question, feel free to ask us. What I got here is a 3D model of the TS2. Obviously, it's a pretty big model, so my computer might be running a little bit slow. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Feel free to ask at this point.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments, just put them in the chat and then Betty can let us know.
Lead time of the machine.
Um,
We currently have, correct me if I'm wrong, 19 or so machine in transit or in
Right.
stock. 14. Okay.
14.
A few are sold. So yeah, for those stock machines, we're gonna have pretty short lead time. But for regular production, well, yeah, we have stock machine keep coming up.
Yeah, depending on the configuration, we could
Yes.
deliver right away. Otherwise, if you need something more custom, it'll be a few months.
That's actually very big difference. The R2 is our, how to say, more entry level product line. It's two chuck system, budget friendly, two chuck, fairly fast running. And the T2 is actually our entry level three chuck tube laser. The difference in the number of chuck is, for example, well, obviously you need two chucks to hold one tube, right? So that's the minimum number. But when you have three chucks, you can do a handover actually, and using the first two chuck to hold the tube, cutting the front section, and the very last bit using the third chuck coming over to grab the tube, while the center chuck supporting it and cutting the tail end of that. So if you have a, say, 20 feet long tube, you want to cut a 20 feet part, and the three chuck is the only way to go. Or even if you have a 20 feet tube, you want to cut some, I don't know, 6-inch long parts, but having that three chuck will give you less waste on the material, so you have better utilization. So the T2 is designed, while they have same chucking diameter capability, but T2 is designed for, generally speaking, longer parts.
Big question is, what is the difference? I'm trying to fit a T2 in my shop. What is the size per second? TS2 versus T2, what is the difference?
That
Maybe try to put the data.
okay,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, the difference between the T2 and a TS2. Sorry. Actually, next slide or the one before. Do you have that last slide?
I'm not sure where the mouse went.
Well, anyway, let me continue. The difference between the T2 and the TS2, again, the TS2 only has 2 chucks, while it's more dynamic performance is faster, even compared to the R2, and obviously much faster than T2, but it only has 2 chucks. So the T2 is able to, again, process longer parts with better support and able to do zero tailing. The TS2 offer a few different functions, for example, different options. For example, like the what I just mentioned, drilling and tapping function. TS2 is the only model that offer that function, as well as that digital intelligent chuck I was talking about earlier, that have the dynamic clamping force control, as well as the real-time feedback of the clamping position. So your machine is better aware of how big of the tube you're actually working on, as well as adjusting the clamping force quickly.
And that will be processed without a third chuck.
Yes, it really depends on the type of tube we're talking about. For example, earlier, I didn't know if you guys noticed, for the unloading side, we have those supporting platform to support a tube. So in theory, if your tube have enough rigidity, for example, larger diameter, thicker wall, and you're not cutting, say, tons of holes on it, right? So the rigidity of the part is not compromised. It can actually support pretty long parts coming out. However, when your tube, say, have thinner wall or just a lot of cut or smaller diameter, therefore it start to wiggle during cutting, that maximum length will reduce. So I know you probably want to hear a set number, but it really depends on application. But generally speaking, 3 chuck will give you more stability for longer parts. We might need to look into your actual application and give you a recommendation based on the part that we're looking at.
Big difference between TS2 and R2 Pro.
R2 Pro. That one's not officially released yet. Obviously, we put on here, but it's coming out very soon. Again, those two are very similar machine, but R2 Pro is still a little bit more budget-friendly machine. It's a little bit later generation of the technology. The TS2 is slightly older. Okay, it was released last year. Okay. But in terms of, for example, the key feature, for example, the TS2 still have the edge on drilling and tapping, and also the intelligent chuck, so able to have that real-time feedback. While the R2 Pro is a very good value for the price, but the chuck is more mechanical, so it does not have those feedback, and you cannot adjusting the clamping pressure on the control. You have to adjust a incoming gas pressure.
Total size of the machine.
All right, so we didn't talk about this yet, but here's the overall machine footprint. So roughly, with the bundle loader for this configuration, we're looking at about 14 meters in length by 7.5 in width and about 10 feet high. So we recommend, allotting a little extra space for the fencing. And then also you have to keep in mind all the auxiliary equipment, electrical cabinet, water chiller, laser source, and dust removal.
We do have a different configuration for the TS2. The standard one is 6 meter in, which is 20 feet in. 4.5 meter out. But obviously we can go up to 9 meter in and 6 meter out. So those footprint will be different. We can based on your actual needs. Say, for example, do you need 30 feet tube capability, or 20 is plenty for you? And obviously the unloading side, right? Some people might need that 20 feet unload. Some people is perfectly fine with shorter one. We even heard some customer wanted to ask us, can they get a even shorter version of the unload? Because all they cut is some parts less than 20-inch long. But yeah, let's talk about the details for your specific project, and we can have better understanding.
You explained the jump chuck option for minimizing the remnant.
On some of our tube machine, particularly two chucks machine, the center chuck able to move slightly. Well, on some model, and some other model, the cutting head able to move slightly. So either way, it's to achieve the same thing. So basically, to move your cutting head onto the other side of the tube, therefore to able to process on the back end. With three chucking, obviously you don't need that function, but this function seems to be, it's a nice compromise. You will sacrifice a little bit of the how to say bevel capability. Sorry, you will not be able to do bevel head because that chuck require motion actually require two roller on single chuck to be able to better hold the tube when you process on the tail end. But it is a nice way for two chuck machine to able to cut a little bit closer to the end of the tail. So I'm not sure if that answered all of your question. If you have any more, feel free to let us know.
Yeah, so I guess just in summation, guys, what does this all mean for your throughput? You're going to have faster cycle times. Remember, 5,500 inches per minute, 1.4 Gs. So you're going to be able to turn those parts around quicker and shorten your delivery times. Fewer secondary operations, copes, holes, slots, bevels done in one handling instead of multiple stations. Less operator setup, and just more capability, especially with automation. So lower cost per part. And we'll be able to match this to your work. So again, depending on what type of work you do, reach out. We'll be able to match you with the right model of machine, whether that's the R series, TS, T series, or the TX or TL. So bring us your parts, your drawings, and work with Xiao here and applications, and we'll do what we need to help you get the right solution.